Okay, so this is the second task for today. You need to work in the groups that I put you in last week. You know what they are, and I know we're a few people missing today because of the exams. So you'll all just have to pull together in your groups. Um, this time we're going to look at launching a new product. Um, so Heat and Press Limited want to launch a new product. The market has been growing and they want to secure some new customers. Before any decision is made, the board of directors collects the following information. So we have profitability from last year and 2 years ago. So we have a gross profit margin that was 46% and it's gone up to 57. And we have a net profit margin that was 12 and it's gone up to 19. So that generally going in the right direction. You've then got this year's financial information. So obviously it's not been converted for you into the margins. You're going to have to do that yourself. So we've got sales of 570,000, gross profit of 273,600, and expenses of 176,700. So we'll come back to that in a minute. You've then got a break-even chart. You can see that the break-even is coming in at 5,000 total costs and total revenues here. It's 5,000. I think this is pies. It's a pie shop. So that's useful to know. And then on the back, you've got a little bit more information. So the sales forecast has predicted 5,500 pies in that first year. Marketing have suggested that they need to spend £250,000 on the advertising for the product launch and for the 6 months that follow. And this is on top of the cost of developing that new pie, which they estimate to be £25,000. So the first questions are relatively straightforward. Using that data, calculate this year's gross and net profit margins and the margin of safety. And then you've got to use just the financial information to think about whether they should launch the new product. Now, because this is part of the synoptic thing, what we then want you to do is obviously the finance bit is done. You need to then think about human resources, marketing, and operations. This time I've printed off a sheet. It's double-sided. There's a box for each one of those 4 areas. So, and use the A3 sheets, one between two, to help you think about the effects. So, human resources, do they need to hire more people? If this production line is going to get bigger, do they need more specialist people? Who is actually doing this new product development? Is it a separate firm, or are they doing it themselves? Do they need people? Have they got the right skills? Have we got a skills gap, etc.? Think of marketing in terms of what are they going to do? £250,000 on advertising and a campaign that lasts 6 months. What is that going to look like? Is it TV adverts? Is it leaflets, newspaper adverts, and so on? And what does that mean in terms of the cost and what channels they should perhaps choose? Don't forget that marketing also covers things like pricing and the other P's. We've got the product development, we've got the price. So what other marketing issues are there? And think of market research as well. And then operations. Well, this is not a pie shop. This is a factory that manufactures the pies and sends it out to places to sell. So this is a factory. What are their operations? Do they need to create a new production line? Is that a flow production, batch production, job production line? What are the implications of that? How do they monitor quality and so on? Even though you're working in your groups, make sure that everyone in the group, you spend like 10 minutes at the end discussing and making sure everyone has got something written in each one of those 4 boxes. But let's just go back to the finance. What I want to do is just make sure that you're happy with some of the calculations. So remember that the gross profit margin is the gross profit divided by sales and then times 100. The net profit needs to be calculated. So remember, that is going to be your gross profit minus your expenses. And then you can do your net profit margin which is going to be your net profit divided by sales times 100. So that'll get you through the first question. Okay, and then obviously you can compare those answers to the ones that were in table 1 over the last couple of years. Break even, we've already said, was at 5,000 pies. So what you need to look at is the margin of safety. And remember, the margin of safety is the difference between actual output and break even. Okay, so the graph tells you they break even at 5,000. Where in the text did it tell you how much they're hoping to sell in the first year? Is that above or below the break even? And then how far away from break even is it? Is it a long way away? Is it quite close? If it's quite close, that could be a problem. If it's quite far away, that might not be a problem because they're going to make more money. Unless it's not reaching the break even point, it's a long way off from it and they're making quite a big loss. So a judgment needs to be made there. Also, you're being asked to think about the financial aspect. So think about the other numbers you've been given. You were told that it was £250,000 for the advertising, okay, and 25,000 for the product development. So that's going to leave you with a bill, hopefully, of 275 if you've done your maths properly, £1,000. Where is that money going to come from? Okay, you need to look at how much net profit they made from the previous calculations. How much net profit have they got left over to invest in that? I'm not going to tell you the answer here, but I'm going to tell you that it is not quite £100,000. So, then finance, where are you going to get the remaining 170 odd £1,000? What other sources of finance? This is a limited company, private limited company. It's obviously an established business. It's been going for at least 2 years, 3 years. So, what sort of sources of finance could be open to them? Think about those sorts of things. That will make up the bulk of the finance box. Okay, and then you can use the other boxes to talk about the issues we spoke about in terms of what's going on in human resources, marketing, and operations. Okay. Make sure, again, that you've got all of those covered and that you can take that away and revise from later on.